We're here in the Santa Cruz Mountains at the Lotus Fields Meditation Center with the renowned guru Ubud Adha. He's the author of a best-selling book, All That, and has a very popular audio CD series entitled Spiritual De-Enthronement. Welcome and thank you for having us here today. There are many questions that many people have for one such as yourself, and I just thought we would start today by asking if you'd be willing to tell us about your earliest spiritual or religious memory.
I will do that. The first clear spiritual experience as such that I can recall this was probably around 19, and my friend and I had ingested some psychedelic mushrooms, and I was looking up like this, and I remember the sensation of feeling that my physical self had lost all its sensation to me, and I was aware that I was in a body, but at the same time I was aware of an essence inside myself that made it completely possible to feel myself as if I had no body.
I think many of us are curious to know, is there something you would consider the Enlightenment experience? Perhaps something that came later? Is there one sort of big opening?
Yes, there definitely is. This took place in the early 1990s. I was in India at the time. After the advice of my teacher, I had been meditating in different caves. And at this point in time, I was 120 days into a silent retreat inside this cave. And I had a moment as I was sitting there. Remember, this was a practice which required me to completely withdraw my contact with the outer world. I had achieved the point of internal encapsulation that enabled me to be completely untouched by what we call the objects as they are coming through the sixth sense doors. I had completely closed off my connection to the world, and I was deepening inside. And I reached a point where I felt like I was connected to all things, between heaven and hell, suspended. And immediately my posture reflected this equipoise, this balance, completely. There was no effort. I was held by the universe.
You know, I can't help but ask, many people, your best-selling book, All That, 32 weeks, I believe, on the New York Times bestseller list, certainly a great volume of teaching. Is there anything you would say to us? The title is very simple, but stirring. All That. I'm wondering if there was something you would say to us, those of us who are big fans of your work and this book, about the very simple and intriguing title.
I would answer with a line from a poem that I wrote, and it says, sickness and death taking hold of all that can fall.
How can we determine or tell a false guru? How can we decide if someone is in fact teaching from a true spiritual center, and is there a giveaway?
I think one needs to listen to whether this person has had an actually authentic experience of spiritual transformation, and of course it's very difficult. It's difficult for us to know that. Because as I myself said, I have my deep doubts at moments about this. So, I do not think there is a surefire way of figuring out whether someone's a hoax or the real thing, so to speak. But one can do oneself a favor by being discerning. By being discerning of those one hear speaking, so as to form one's own opinions.
When was the last time you had sex?
Complete celibate here at the Lotus Fields Meditation Center. Complete celibacy. You don't seem to believe me.
I notice you didn't answer the question directly, if I may be so bold.
I think we'll lay that one aside. For the interview now, let's lay that one aside. Okay?
Absolutely, yes, I apologize. Something just came over me there. People on the spiritual path often avoid unpleasant truths by using fine-sounding rhetoric. How do you help students avoid this kind of spiritual bypass?
It's interesting that you should mention that. It makes me think of a young man 3 weeks ago in Santa Fe. I did a talk to a small group of about 300 people, and this one man came up to me, and it was particularly this problematic that I needed to speak to. It was as if he was lost completely in his own concepts. I had to make it clear to him that the concepts that you have in your head is not the reality itself. And of course, it took him a while to understand that, because he was so identified with his own thoughts. And I think this is one of the really important things that I need you to talk to you about, because I sometimes feel incredibly trapped by the whole conceptual nightmare of throwing around these concepts and talking about enlightenment, awakening, as if they were real and known entities. I have to admit, for instance, that sometimes I think back if that Satori experience I had 17, 18 years ago, was that truly an awakening? Was that really I thought at the time that it was a Satori experience. Now that I think back on it, I have my doubts. And if it was such an awakening, why is it that I'm so often thrown right back into the same personal dynamics and the same neurosis and difficulties that I've been struggling with for all these years? It's not as if I have arrived to a different place than where you all are. I think. Sometimes I go out there, I'm just getting ready to go out there on stage and sit there in front of these huge groups of people, and the pressure to come up with something brilliant, to say something really wise and profound. I'm overwhelmed sometimes with the pressure inside me, the attention from all these people that somehow want me to give them the answers, but to understand I can't give you any answers. It's hard to go out there over and over and over again. I have to come up with something brilliant to say.
Uh, my next question was sort of along this line, and maybe there's more you would say. I mean, really, what are the sort of challenges that you face as a man in your position, and is there something that more? Is there anything more you would like us to know as your students and devotees?
Well, physically speaking, it's an enormous drain on my system, on my organism. An enormous energetic drain. To have all these people, with all their lack of maturity, projecting on their infantile need for parental approval and guidance onto me. Grow up, people! Grow up! I don't have the answers. No one does. Here at the Lotus Field Meditation Center, we're gonna go into a naked examination of what it is that we're all about, and we're gonna pursue this. We're gonna be ruthless about our own beliefs, about the dogma that's being passed through these kinds of teaching centers. We need to stop deluding people. We need to redefine what true spirituality really is. And here at the Lotus Fields Meditation Center, we're already well on the way to doing that. Because we don't believe in the old dogma anymore. We want you to realize that someone up here like myself, professing to be a guru, a teacher, someone who knows something that you don't, or has had experiences that you haven't had, and live in a kind of reality that you don't, this is completely nonsense. And the sooner you understand, the better. Peel off the trappings. Dispense with the age-old paraphernalia. There's nothing more to say. There's nothing more to do. Just get back to your meditation pillow. Thank you. I have spoken. There will be no more questions.